Oscar, I think it's time for us to explore a trending hashtag, but of a more serious nature.
Giovanna, I agree. Recently, hashtag #StopAsianHate has actually become more than just a trending hashtag. It developed into a movement in response to the rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans over the past year.
Let's take a deeper look. On March 16th, 2021, 8 people in Georgia were killed in a mass shooting, of which 6 were Asian women. This was the tipping point to bring national attention to a growing issue that the AAPI community has battled throughout the pandemic: racism and the rise of hate crimes. The statistics are staggering. According to the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at Cal State University San Bernardino, from 2019 to 2020, hate crimes in America's 16 largest cities decreased overall by 7%, but hate crimes against Asian Americans rose by 149%. This sparked a massive national response and social movement to support Asian Americans in the AAPI community. There have been rallies all across the country, including cities such as Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Seattle, Chicago, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and Columbus, Ohio. The message is clear: the AAPI community needs our support.
To clarify, AAPI stands for Asian American and Pacific Islander. This includes individuals that identify with an ethnic group or nationality in East Asia, such as China, Japan, Korea, Tibet, and Taiwan.
Or South Asia, such as India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka.
Right, and in Southeast Asia, you have Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, the Philippines, Indonesia, Singapore, Myanmar, and Malaysia.
And even the Pacific Islands, such as Samoa, Guam, and Fiji.
And don't forget about the Hawaiian Islands.
Definitely not.
Stop Asian Hate challenges the damage from issues such as the China virus rhetoric used by many, including former U.S. President Donald Trump. This language has been harmful to the AAPI community, casting blame for the coronavirus on Asian Americans, and according to advocates, has inflamed anti-Asian sentiment in the U.S. This movement also challenges the long-standing model minority myth, a stereotype rooted in the belief that Asian Americans, as compared to other minority groups, are polite, hardworking, and achieve a higher level of success. Many advocates and activists note how this stereotype contributes to the perception that Asian Americans are seen as all the same, at times feeling unseen in society.
As with all forms of racism, the most difficult part is trying to understand why this happens to a particular group. Asian families across the country are having important conversations, just like 40-year-old Korean American Stephany Stuber and her 7-year-old daughter Olivia. Let's take a look.
Do you remember when we were talking about the shooting of the Asian women? How do you think, how did it make you feel? Remember when we talked about that?
Well, sad because I'm a little bit Asian.
You are. You're a lot of it Asian. She asked me why somebody would hurt people just because they were Asian. She said, because I'm Asian, so would somebody want to hurt me just because of the way that I look? And I said, sadly, I don't know. I was like, right now, because of the comments that were made about COVID and calling it a China flu, that a lot of people are looking at Asian people in a different way, and that mommy's heard things. People have said things to me about it, that it comes from China. We're not even Chinese. And I've expressed this to her, and she asked me why he called it the China flu.
Wow.
In addition to Stephany Stuber, we've reached out to others to ask them how they feel as Asian Americans in the United States.
Honestly, a lot of times you just don't want to think about it. You want to go outside, keep your head down, and go about your business. When you do finally stop to process your thoughts, it's like being in middle school all over again. But now, instead of kids bullying you for your race, adults weaponize their language in a dangerous way to evoke racism. Many of us are looking at the situation with a new lens, but most importantly, we should not be afraid to share or forget the love and pride we have for our culture. As a Chinese American immigrant educator of similar demographics of recent victims of racial attacks, I am both saddened and disappointed. I'm sad that innocent people are being attacked based solely on their ethnicity, and disappointed that groups of people are continuing to be targeted. Racism has always existed in this country, and the past several years it has escalated to the point that it cannot be ignored. Although there is an increase in attacks against the AAPI community, I'm not scared. I refuse to live in fear of others that may look different from me. I know that there are more kind and caring people in the world than the ones highlighted in the news, and I am hopeful that we will not just stand by and watch, but be proactive and take a stand to say that this is not okay. These are difficult conversations to have with kids. On one hand, you want to protect them, but on the other hand, you want them to know what's happening. As a parent, it's important to continue teaching your kids about their culture in spite of the injustices felt by the AAPI community, to raise children that are more aware and can carry on their cultural traditions.
I am Asian American. I enjoy celebrating Chinese New Year with my mama and yaya, and I love eating the adobo that my Lolo and Lola make for me. I am proud to be Asian American.
As you can see, we all need to come together to support the AAPI community and recognize the underlying racism they have faced and continue to face in this country. As a NexGen viewer, here are some ways you can start to address this issue.
First, ask questions to understand. What do you not understand? What would you like to know about the AAPI community? Second, research to understand. How have Asian Americans been treated in the United States throughout history? Look at issues such as the Chinese Exclusion Act or Japanese internment during World War II.
Thirdly, practice empathy to understand and put yourself in someone else's shoes. How do you think your AAPI peers are feeling at this time? How can you be more aware of their feelings and situation? Lastly, here's a word from NexGen News co-founder Michelle Mcguire.
Hi friends, my name is Michelle Mcguire and I'm one of the co-founders of NexGen News. As the daughter of a Vietnamese immigrant and a proud Asian American, I'm woefully disheartened to see the ways that racism and hate have continued to take root in our community. We cherish our unique cultures, our identity, and especially our elders. Like many others, I'm struggling to see this play out in society, and I am struggling to reflect on how this has impacted myself personally. As an individual, I value openness, tolerance, and the right for all of us to be treated in a just, fair, and equitable way. Racism takes that away from us. As a company, NexGen News values the power of our platform to bring these issues to light, to have students think critically about what they can do to create positive change and impact. For more information, resources, and ways to support the Asian American community, head to stopaapihate.org.
So when my mom was growing up, she didn't have any characters in her books that looked like her. Now my mom fills up me and my brother's library with a bunch of books written by Asian Americans, like The Ugly Vegetables by Grace Lin, Role Models Who Look Like Me, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders Who Made History by Jasmine Cho, We Are Inspiring, the stories of 32 inspirational Asian American women, The Name Jar, which is actually one of my favorite books, and Auntie Yang's Great Soybean Picnic, which we haven't read yet, but we are going to read. All these stories I read inspired me to write a story of my own called Hot Pot Christmas.